Alright, now today we're going to go over Deekah, Fractal Theorist. Now, when I was first reading this card, I immediately thought of some more cards that triggered off of when you casted spells and like instants and sorceries. So that's the route I'm gonna go in, is just other cards that also trigger off of you casting instants and sorceries. So that way when I cast an instant or sorcery, multiple cards are going to be triggering off. In addition to that, he also makes fractals that have counters on them, so anything that buffs up or gives abilities to your creatures that also have counters on them, I'm also going to be throwing in the deck. So let's check it out.
Deekah Fractal Theorist. Let's order it by type and converted cost. Alright, so I was looking at this guy. I immediately thought of two cards. I thought of, where are they? These two. So, what the commander and these two both have in common is when you cast an instant or sorcery, you're then making a guy who's going to be as big as the instant or sorcery you're casting. It's a little different with this commander because there's counters that are being placed on the guys that you're making instead of their power and toughness just being equal to the converted mana cost, but that will be to our benefit with some cards in the deck that are better if you have counters on them. So let's start with the instants and sorceries. In the early mana costs, we have some stuff like Brainstorm and Opt to really fix our draws. We have, over in the sorceries, we have Ponder and Preordain to do the same thing. These four are going to kind of be like our early plays to fill up our graveyard, but also smooth out our draws. Then we're going to have some Pongify, Rapid Hybridization, and some like counter spells and bounce stuff in order to get rid of our opponent's early game threats. Some spicy cards here like Rift and Mana Drain that are just staple blue cards. Some more counter spells. Reality Shift is always a clutch blue creature removal spell because it exiles. The manifest really doesn't matter. Twin Cast and where is it? Right here. Narset's Reversal. There to copy some instants and sorceries that our opponents play or any other big stuff that we play to get second cast trigger off of our commander. More counter spells. Blue Sun Zenith, get a huge spell off the stack to trigger our commander. Frantic Search, essentially a free spell. There's a few Foretell cards in this deck, and my goal is to cast them from exile. That way we're casting them for the cheaper cost, but getting the ability to trigger off of the more expensive cost to get a bigger guy. A sub-theme in this deck is proliferating. So that goes with the +1/+1 counter strategy that I was talking about earlier. So whenever your proliferate trigger resolves, then all your fractals that have counters on them all are going to grow. And that's essentially going to be our main strategy, is just make some big fractals and then use our commander's second ability to make them unblockable and attack in for the win. More free spells, return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. That way you're left with all your guys swinging. Delve is something that I looked at when making this deck. Delve cards tend to have high mana costs, but when you actually cast them, you're not going to be using that much mana. There's quite a few cards in this deck that make instants and sorceries cheaper. I did that because the nature of this deck wants to have high-costed instants and sorceries, so to combat that, put stuff in the deck that makes them cost less, so you don't actually have the downside of playing things that cost more. That brings us to the two inspirations for this deck, and these guys are really in here as backup commanders essentially. Each one of them can kind of win the game on their own. Swarms in here just to get multiple triggers off of everything. Kind of a win more card. I already went over these two. Some more Proliferate. Curse of the Swine is a good card to take out any problem creatures and remove them from the game, so then an issue. That kind of goes with Reality Shift. Also, it's an X spell, so it can potentially be pretty large. Trigger off your commander. Solve the equation to search up anything from these two sections. Windfall to just like get a new grip. Rite of Replication is crazy when it wins the games. Some more just combat tricks, proliferating, and get some more use out of your graveyard. Mind's Desire, kind of win games on its own. Rise of the Tides is a good spell to finish off a game like late into the turns. Your graveyard's probably going to be pretty big when you cast this, so then you just end up swinging in for the win the next turn. Some more Foretelling. Spell Twine is a really expensive mana costed card that can potentially win off of the spells that it copies. Treasure Cruise is another Delve card, so high mana costed. In our artifacts, we have some cool interactions with instants and sorceries, plus just your general protection and ramp. Everflowing Chalice is interesting because with all the proliferating, you can increase the charge counters on it. Soul Ring, just more ramp. Idol's pretty cool because it basically, as long as you're casting instants and sorceries, then you're going to be having tokens come in, so that first ability is probably always going to be going off, and then that second ability you can potentially make unblockable. Mind Stone, some ramp, protection, ramp, and then I'll lump all the stuff that makes instants and sorceries cost one less into ramp, because it's essentially the same as what Sapphire Medallion's doing. Only Narset in here. I didn't spend too much time going through Planeswalkers. An argument can be said that there should be more Planeswalkers in here if you're going to focus that much on proliferating, but this is the way I went. The lands are pretty basic, just all like blue normal stuff. I don't think I didn't put any lands in here that have counters on them. Again, there might be an argument to put those in here since you're going to be proliferating, but not this iteration. Brawl makes them cost less. The Homunculus flips into this guy that makes them cost less. When this guy deals combat damage, proliferates, you pop, make all your fractals larger. Same with this when you're casting non-creature spells, which that's what most of this deck is. Archaeomancer to get the instant or sorcery back. This guy, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you draw a card. This is like, these two essentially are the same card, except one makes 2/2 flyers and one makes 1/1 flyers. This guy makes 1/1s and then flips. And then and then flips to continue making the 1/1s, but your wizards get +2/+1 in flying. And then this guy, when you cast an instant sorcery, you can make target creature at base 8/8. So if you make one of your tokens have base 8/8, and then they get the additional power and toughness from the counters that are on them, and then with your commander you make them unblockable, swing in, pretty much just win with that. So let's go to the playtest. It's a pretty fun deck. It's like 2 or 3 solid strategies. Just one color. So pretty easy to pilot. No blue mana. Mulligan that. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's just restart this. Alright. This isn't much. We'll go with this. Alright, so turn 1. Go like that. Alright, we're good. This is a good hand. So we'll go Ponder, the top 3, put them back, these 3, put them back like that, and then draw off. Next turn, that, play, preordain, scry 2, twin cast going on the bottom, treasure cruise we'll keep on top because I have a feeling I'm going to fill up my graveyard pretty quick, draw a card, and we're going to go opt to scry 1 and draw a card. Start drawing lands. That. Next turn, War Room, that's good. Throw the boots out. Throw Thrumming Bird out. And attach boots to it. Generator. And throw the commander out. Next turn. Go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Play that. Draw 3. Get a. There's no fractals, so I'm using this 0. Be an 8/8. That'll fly in. Buff it up one more. Yeah, and rinse and repeat. Just keep playing instants and sorcerers every turn. I'll probably throw boots over onto the commander, and then just every turn keep having these big guys come out, and if no one deals with it, we end up winning the game.